I'm Pamela McLean from Bidfood, and in this video today we'll be exploring the subject of dysphasia and how to cater for it. We will help you understand what dysphasia means and how it affects people, what the IDDSI guidelines are and how to check that they are safe, and also how to improve your presentation techniques. Dysphasia is a medical term for swallowing difficulties, which can be a very frightening condition. The condition will be diagnosed by a speech and language therapist, and a texture-modified diet may be required. There is a high risk of malnutrition and choking with this condition. Individuals who may need a texture-modified diet are generally unwell and need nutrient-rich foods. Dysphasia is on the increase, and this is due to a number of reasons. Firstly, we have more older people in our society. Secondly, people are living with diseases for longer. And thirdly, there is an increased awareness of diagnosis in younger people. So who can suffer from dysphasia? The frail and elderly, people with neck and head cancers, stroke patients, patients with dementia, people with Parkinson's disease, and the elderly with pneumonia, also people with cerebral palsy, and of course it can be a temporary condition due to illness or hospitalisation. Dysphasia often forms part of other health conditions for which the patient is being treated for. For example, between 50 to 60% of head and neck cancer sufferers, 50 to 75% of nursing home residents, 10% of acutely hospitalised elderly people, and 5% of adults with learning difficulties. Dysphasia is estimated to affect approximately 8% of the global population. So how do we swallow? When we swallow, the tongue comes forward, allowing the larynx to close. This causes the airway to be blocked to allow us to swallow our food. Dysphasic sufferers do not close off their airway, therefore food can go into their lungs, causing aspiration. The mortality rate can be as high as 45%. So what are the risks associated with dysphasia? Loss of appetite, which leads to the risk of malnutrition and losing weight. A reduced fluid intake, which can lead to dehydration and constipation. Becoming frailer, which can lead to a risk of infection. Aspiration can cause chest pains, leading to chest infections. And choking, which is blocking of the airways, which ultimately could cause death. IDDSI stands for the International Dysphasia Diet Standardisation Initiative. We will refer to this as IDDSI throughout this video. IDDSI is a global dysphasic framework, categorising food and drink based on texture and consistency. The benefits of IDDSI are it improves patient safety. It describes how thick is thick. It reduces guesswork for staff on thickness, consistency and moisture. It also combines the descriptors for food and fluids under one framework. So what equipment will you need to test the new standards? A 10 ml slip-tip syringe, a spoon and a fork. Using a syringe is known as the flow test. You use a fork to size and pressure test, and a spoon is used for a tilt test to check stickiness. The framework consists of 8 levels. 0 to 4 are drinks and 3 to 7 are foods. Level 0, thin. Level 1, slightly thick. Level 2, mildly thick. Level 3, moderately thick for drinks, liquidized for food. Level 4, extremely thick for drinks, pureed for food. Level 5, minced and moist. Level 6, soft bite size. And Level 7, regular food and easy to chew. There are also foods known as transitional foods, which may be served from levels 5 to 7. Transitional foods are foods which start as one texture and change to another. For example, a wafer biscuit, ice or oranges. Levels 0 to 3 are tested using the flow test method using a 10 ml slip syringe. Remove the plunger from the syringe, cover the nozzle with your finger and fill to 10 ml. Remove your finger from the nozzle and start your timer. Recover the nozzle after 10 seconds and measure the amount left in the syringe. Measure against the guidelines. Please see the IDDSI website for more details on drinks. Today we are going to concentrate on the food levels, which are levels 3 to 7. Level 3 is liquidized. It can be drunk from a cup. Some effort is required to suck through a standard ball straw. It cannot be piped, layered or moulded on a plate, and it cannot be eaten with a fork because it will drip slowly through the prongs. However, it can be eaten with a spoon. No oral processing or chewing is required, and it can be swallowed directly. Smooth texture with no bits. The example we are using today is tomato soup, and the test we have done for this is the spoon test, making sure the soup is not sticky on the spoon. You could also do this through a 10 ml slip test syringe, leaving 8 ml in the syringe. Level 4 is pureed. It's usually eaten with a spoon, and it's too thick so it cannot be drunk from a cup or sucked through a straw. However, it does not require chewing, and it can be piped, layered or moulded. It shows some very slow movement under gravity, but it cannot be poured from a jug. It falls off a spoon in a single spoonful when tilted and continues to hold its shape on the plate. There are no lumps and it is not sticky. Liquid must not separate from the solid. The example we have done today is savoury mince with potato, broccoli and carrots. We have tested this today using a fork. The food will sit on a mound on the fork. We have also tested with a spoon tilt test. It will hold its shape on the spoon and the full spoonful will plop off the spoon but not be sticky. Level 5 is minced and moist. It can be eaten with a fork or a spoon. It can be scooped and shaped. It is soft and moist with no separate thin liquid, but there are small lumps visible within the food, 4 mm for adults and 2 mm for children. Lumps are easy to squash with the tongue. The example we have made today is cottage pie with cauliflower puree, carrots and broccoli. The test we have used today is the fork test to ensure the pieces fit between the tines of a fork. We have also used a spoon tilt test to ensure that it is not sticky. Level 6 is soft and bite-sized. It can be eaten with a fork, spoon or chopsticks. It can be broken or mashed down with pressure from a fork or a spoon. A knife is not required to cut this food, but may be used to help loading it onto a fork or spoon. Chewing is required before swallowing. Bite-sized pieces no larger than 1.5 cm on the plate. Soft, tender and moist throughout with no separate thin liquid. There are some oral processing skills required. The dish we have prepared today is poached salmon with sweet potato, courgette, cauliflower and broccoli. When performing the fork pressure test, place your thumb on the bowl of the fork. Press firmly onto the food. The food should squash and not bounce back, and your nail will blanch. Level 7 is easy to chew food and also regular food. Easy to chew is normal everyday foods which are soft and tender in texture. Food pieces are not restricted in size, but please do not use hard, tough, chewy, fibrous, stringy textures or anything with pips, seeds, bones or gristle. You should be able to bite off pieces of soft, tender food. Your tongue should be able to move food for chewing and apply pressure until the food is soft and moist enough to be easily swallowed. May include mixed thin and thick texture foods and liquids together. Please check with your clinician for direction on this. We're now going to do a test using fruit to show the different levels. For level 7, the peaches can be eaten as they are for regular or soft chew diet. For level 6, we are chopping the peaches into 1.5 cm dice. For level 5, the peaches are being chopped to pieces smaller than 4 mm. This level will need a slight thickener to ensure the liquid does not separate. For level 3 and 4, blend the peaches until smooth and pass through a sieve. The consistency may be suitable for level 3. Test with a spoon and fork. If it is too thin, thicken to the correct level with a modified thickener. For level 4, Add the modified thickener and whisk until smooth and you achieve the correct level using the fork and spoon test. Presentation of dysphasic food is really important as you need to create the desire to eat. Think about choice of colours and variety of textures to create appetite. Ensure portion sizes are manageable and be imaginative with choice and varieties of food. It's important to remember as well that the nutritional value needs to be high and texture modified meals may need to be fortified. Please avoid foods that do not blend very well, such as seeds, nuts and stringy foods. Choosing the correct cuts of meat is also important, as braising and stewing will retain more moisture during cooking and therefore making food easier to eat and blend. Foods with more moisture blend well, therefore chicken thigh is preferable to breast, beef brisket is preferable to topside. Cooking slower for longer will mean more moisture, therefore easier to eat and easier to blend. When plating, use a variety of methods to make your food look attractive. You could use piping bags, moulds or quenelling. There are a variety of thickeners on the market to ensure you create the correct texture for your foods. Please ensure you use a thickener that does not have a flavour and is amylase resistant, which means that food will not separate into liquid in the mouth. And finally, a few things to remember. Everything on the plate must be the correct texture for that person's needs. Do not add any sauces or gravies unless they are the correct texture. Flavour is essential to create appetite, and variety is important to maintain desire. And lastly, don't forget, everybody deserves dignity in dining. Thank you for watching, and please look at our website for more details or visit the IDDSI website.